Just Baseball show for Friday, August 29th. As always, it is presented by the fine folks at BetMGM. Jack Mullen, Arm Layton. In about 2 minutes, you're going to hear from Ryan Finkelstein because the Mets are the talk of the town, man. Nolan McLean is Tom Seaver and Nolan Ryan had a grandchild. Is that what that is right now?
If you get Ryan going, probably. We should have waited another day to have him on. I got MVP texts last night from Ryan, so we should have probably let him come down to earth a little bit before we brought him on the show.
You got MVP text about Nolan McLean?
He said 2026 MVP.
2026 MVP Nolan McLean.
Yeah.
Okay, and then can a pitcher win the MVP while another pitcher on the same team wins the Cy Young? Because Tong is set to make his major league debut tonight.
That's what Fink's going to break down here for us.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, the way that
happens. Get that in about 2 minutes. Jack Aram, by the way, how are you? Did you see Mark Teixeira is running for Congress in Texas?
I did see that. We needed another athlete to run for office. Looking forward to that.
Should we break down every view that he has? I haven't done dive just yet.
I didn't even click. I kept scrolling immediately. But I did just see that literally before we went live. It's so crazy though, the timing of these promotions and things. Because last episode, Peter was asking me like Kyle Harrison or Payton Tolle as well. And now it sounds like it might be Payton Tolle who's getting up there as well. I'm loving seeing these pitchers get an opportunity here late in the season. Reliever Bubba Chandler getting a crack for the Pirates.
Yeah, he looks like a good middle relief option with the chance to blossom into an okay setup guy.
They should. I think you try Bubba Chandler as a starter, see what happens.
You think so? I think that's a little ballsy, and I'm not sure if that makes all the sense in the world.
He went, what, 4? Was it 4 scoreless again out of the pen?
Yeah, I saw there was a weird, shoehorn stat that was put out. He's the first guy in the modern era to go 4 innings and get a save and a win in his first 2 appearances and not allow a run. It was very...
That's because the Pirates are doing weird shit.
Right.
That's the only reason why. But
you know
also...
what they might be doing? They might be hunting weird statistical anomalies. We're at that point in the season.
We did it. 8 innings, though, so far, no runs. And the one thing that we talked about, I don't know if that was with you? It was with you, where I was like, the command was the question in AAA, but how much of that was maybe just him getting bored and frustrated out there? Well, small sample, but we got 8 innings and the guys walked 1 dude. So we'll see if that continues.
We'll see. All right, we are going to bring Fink on real quick. We might as well not waste any time. Let's talk about the hottest team in baseball, the New York Mets, with our editor-in-chief, Ryan Finkelstein. Soon as Ryan Finkelstein joined the Zoom, we both broke into laughter because he's got the Mets hat and the Mets flag. Blue shirt, I assume Mets shirt. Let's see.
Baby Mets, Mark Vientos, Brett Beatty, Alvarez from a couple years ago.
How did that sweep feel? Because it seemed to be rock bottom for about a month and a half.
Boy, it's a good sign to hit rock bottom again, right? Is it 2 rock bottoms this year as well? Is it 4 rock bottoms since 2024?
It was 2 rock bottoms last year, and they got to the NLCS. So if you double that and you get 4 rock bottoms in 1 year, I think you win the World Series.
Exactly. Yeah, there's been a lot of rock bottoms this year. But yeah, things are going well. Things are going very well. Nice little sweep of the Phillies, 4 games back. It's a good day to be a Mets fan right now.
Who is Nolan McLean? Is he I said if Nolan Ryan and Tom Seaver had a grandchild, it's probably Nolan McLean.
Yeah, probably. Some of the company that he's keeping through 3 starts is insane. Where it's like, first guy since Randy Johnson in 1988 to have whatever it was, 20 innings pitched, 20 strikeouts, less than 3 earned runs, and an opponent batting average of under 200. I think that was the stat. First time since Randy Johnson someone has done that. There's some stats like first time since, or the only other Met since Tom Seaver to do whatever it is. So yeah, it's been a pretty insane start to Nolan McLean's career for sure.
So serious question on this front, because I am just, and Peter and I touched on it, but you're way more, I think, equipped to properly answer these questions. 2 things. Innings restrictions. So I think people were a little bit surprised to see Tong called up, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more. But at least just from my perspective, he's already just now reached the exact amount of innings he threw last year. So you imagine he doesn't have a ton of bullets left. Might as well use them at the big league level. Interested to see how you think he fits in. But then Nolan McLean, another guy that Didn't throw a lot in college. Two-way guy, TJ. So last year was a big bump up in innings to 109 and 2/3. This year, he's at 113 and 2/3 in the minor leagues, and then another 20 in the big leagues. How far do you think they're going to push him? Has there been much conversation about how far McClain can go here? And if they're looking at the postseason, isn't that a guy that you're going to want in the postseason? Do you taper him down? Is that why Tong's up? Where does Tong fit in the rotation? Explain. I know you've done it all on Locked On Mets, but you got to do it for us here.
It's funny because I did listen to you guys and I was thinking, okay, they need to have me on to break this down because there's something that I know that you guys don't about the situation. And that's that David Stearns has pretty much said F an innings limit. He talked about this before the season that when it comes to innings limits, the Mets don't believe in them anymore. And his case is a pretty good one. He's like, have innings limits been working to curtail pitchers' injuries over the past couple of years? And so their philosophy is they are going to monitor guys, see how they're bouncing back from starts. They have, their team of trainers and doctors, and they're just looking at arm health, and it's case by case. So if they are seeing that Nolan McClain is starting to slow down for any reason, yeah, they're going to be careful. But looking at where the Mets are at this very moment, I think Nolan McClain is kind of the instant ace of the New York Mets. I don't think there's any thought of slowing him down unless they're seeing something in his stuff, the way he's bouncing back, that would tell them, okay, we're in kind of a cautious area. I think most franchises would have shut down or moved Clay Holmes to the bullpen a long time ago. But again, this is the Mets' philosophy now. They're doing it more on kind of a science-based approach. They're not saying arbitrarily 30 more innings than last year, that's it. They're trying to come up with something new.
It makes a lot of sense because, we're going to see Yuri Perez face Jonah Tong, and innings limits would be applied the same way to those two guys, and they couldn't be more different in terms of what they look like and who they are. That's a really interesting approach, and anything that Stearns does, I'm gonna think and listen to it. But based on that, then how does the rotation shake out? Because I see 6 guys now.
Yeah. So I think with Jonah Tong, to me, David Stearns said this is a turn-by-turn basis at this stage of the season. And I think part of it was getting Jonah Tong on the 40-man roster before September so he could be eligible if they wanted him in the postseason. I don't know if Jonah Tong is going to stick in this rotation, but I think what they decided basically was they had to get somebody up to make a start because they weren't going to have Kodai Senga go on 4 days rest multiple times. And so they were looking at the road ahead, and they said, Jonah Tong might look pretty good against the Marlins on Friday. So let's call him up to make that start and then see. Now, if Jonah Tong goes 6 scoreless and strikes out 12, I don't think they're going to remove him from the rotation. If the Marlins get him for 4 runs and he's out of the game in 4 innings, I think they might send him down, and they have Tyler Megill that can come off the IL next week. So I think it is a very turn-by-turn situation for the Mets right now. But if Jonah Tong delivers, he might stick. And I think the Mets have the ability to move Holmes to the bullpen. They can move Megill to the bullpen. They can figure things out. But right now, I think McClain's locked into that rotation. Everything else is kind of up for grabs still for some of the other young arms.
So recent results would indicate, obviously, Tong is the hotter hand than Brandon Sproat. But Sproat has been in AAA for a heck of a lot longer. He's been there the entirety of this year, and he got there at the end of last year. Sproat put together an unbelievable July. It was 27 innings, 2 earned runs. He K'd 33, and opponents hit a $152 against him. But in the month of August, it's been 19 innings, 14 earned runs, and 3 unearned runs on top of that. It's been very hot and cold. Obviously, results would seem to indicate that Tong was the quote-unquote right guy call up here. Were you a little surprised, though, based on the sample in AAA, that it was Tong over Sproat this quickly?
Yeah, I was surprised. I really thought that the Mets were going to debut Sproat on Monday against the Phillies. And the reason I thought that is because it would have given Kodai Senga the extra day's rest that we've come to expect. And it's funny because, Jack, you and I were talking about this at the Marlins game last week where I was like, you might catch Nolan McClain or even Sproat. I had no idea.
You said I'm going to get McClain and Sproat. It turns out I'm going to get no McClain across a 4-game set, but I'm going to get Tong.
Yeah, you're going to get Tong instead. And the reason I thought this is I expected Sproat to start on Monday and then to have everybody on 5 days rest. But it turns out it was a genius strategy by the Mets because they got Nolan McClain in that series against the Phillies, and it turned into a sweep. But I think it really was about that. I think, again, it's a series by series thing. I think the Mets made the decision. They wanted Nolan McLean to pitch against Philly. So they set their rotation up that way. That put them in a spot where they gave Brandon Sproat another start in AAA on Sunday, or he had an opener because they were trying to have him acclimated a little bit to coming out of the bullpen if that's something he might need to do. And he got banged up again. And so I think if you were watching the Syracuse Mets last weekend, you saw Jonah Tong dominate, you saw Brandon Sproat get knocked around, they might have just said, you know what, Jonah Tong, at some point, you got to just trust that this guy is dominating. I mean, he gave up 6 runs in his first 2 starts. Since then, his ERA is 0.99. So at a certain point, you just say, you know what? As Carlos Mendoza said, he said, at a certain point, there's just too much to like with Jonah Tong, and that's why they're promoting him.
Okay. You haven't been this excited for a young pitching duo in McLean and Tong since
the answer.
Blank.
Yeah, you know the answer. It's 2015. And I think it's really that whole time period for the Mets, because it was Harvey first, then it was Wheeler, then it was DeGrom, but to me, it's very similar to 2015, where at the end of that season, we were wondering, are they just going to let the kids go? And at the time, it was, are Noah Syndergaard and Steven Matz going to be making playoff starts? And they did. They ended up rolling with those guys. Bartolo Colon went to the bullpen. So, yeah, it's the 2015 Mets, and it feels like for this franchise, it is always sort of waves of pitchers that come through. Like it was the Seaver wave, back in the day with Kuzma and all those guys. And then the 86 Mets, Good and Darling, all those guys. And then you had Generation K, which Mets fans don't want to talk about. And then now 2015, that's almost become another Generation K. But yeah, this is sort of the next wave. And it's exciting because this is what this franchise always sort of falls back on, is the pitching. And so now you have these guys coming into the fold, and the Mets look a lot better for a potential push here.
So we talked about second half performers in the last episode. We're going to do a little bit of that with the pitching side in this one, but Mark Vientos, big part of that. He was one of the key names that we highlighted, and obviously that helps catapult this offense. At the end of the day, offense is not a huge question now, especially with Brett Beatty. Really now, so like we've waffled on him, so many times, and we've had these conversations, but he's just at least clearly going to be a fine bat to have in your lineup, especially in the back end with all the other guys that they have. And that's all you needed. You just didn't want to have those gaping holes. But when I'm trying to poke a hole in this Mets team, of course, you got Edwin Diaz in the back end. He looks great. And I love the Tyler Rogers to Edwin Diaz combination there. Just like, what the hell do you do as a hitter? But Ryan Helsley, what do you do right now? I think you want to catch the division, but you also need Ryan Helsley. I wouldn't say need, but you feel a lot better about your postseason chances and the ability to make a run. That's why you traded for him, is if Ryan Helsley looks like Ryan Helsley. The less you put Ryan Helsley in leverage situations, the less you're going to be confident about whether he is Ryan Helsley in the postseason. What the hell do you do, and how worried are you?
So I'm not too worried in the sense that they just have so many irons in the fire. And last year we saw Ryan Stanek had an ERA well over 5 in the regular season, and then something clicked in October. So I think they have enough of those guys between Stanek and Helsley that you hope one of them clicks. And I also think that it's just the amount of option the Mets have. Maybe it is Brandon Sproat that they decide to convert to a reliever role. Maybe Jonah Tong's in a reliever role come October. You also have Clay Holmes. And I really wonder when they just say, all right, Clay, go back to being Yankees Clay Holmes for the rest of this season. Next year you're going to be in the starting rotation, but now it's time to go back to the bullpen. I think that's another option for them. So they have a month to sort of let these things sort themselves out. I do think that is one of the big concerns, is having that bridge to Diaz, but they have so many more options than they had last year. Last year we were talking about Ryan Stanek, Reed Garrett, and Phil Maton. Now you have you still have Garrett and Stanek, but they're way down in the pecking order with all the other arms the Mets just picked up. And I mean, I'm even looking at Dylan Ross right now in Syracuse, and I'm like, yeah, they might want to add him to the 40 before the end of this month to just give them another guy that throws over 100 that can be in the picture. So I think because of how many guys they have, there's a lot of options if Helsley never figures it out. But clearly, if Ryan Helsley is Ryan Helsley, this team just gets that much more dangerous as a World Series contender.
And we were watching New York run out Buto in like huge moments last October, and now that's nowhere close to happening right now. This is a question for Aram. Like, Do you worry about somebody like Helsley come October? I know he's been struggling a lot, but at the end of the day, he throws 99 to 101, and you feel okay about that guy, a multiple-time all-star closer, getting right in huge moments, no?
I would. It depends on how bad it gets down
sure.
these next few weeks. Like it's been kind of auto. I feel like where it's not just blowing, outings here. It's getting like bludgeoned. And he's just not doing well at all. Like, so I would imagine, yes, especially if it's a 7th inning and you're giving Edwin the 9th, but it's been as bad of a stretch as I can remember for him. So it just gives me a little bit of pause, especially with a new environment.
I will say, just from watching it, it seems like right now whether he's tipping or he's just completely lost his breaking balls, hitters have eliminated everything but the fastball. So they're just sitting fastball. And when you have big league hitters sitting fastball, it doesn't matter if it's coming at 101, they can catch up to it. And then at times when he does throw those breaking balls, a lot of hangers. So I don't know if it's a mental thing. I don't know if he's tipping pitches, but it has looked pretty bad.
Yeah, his last 10 outings, real quick, opponents against his fastball are hitting 500.
Whoa. That's not great.
No.
Ryan Finkelstein, last one for you. World Series back on, yes or no?
Oh, yeah, 100%. How could it not be?
Is there
Game 7? I was saying Game 7. Who gets the start?
Nolan McLean, man. Are you kidding me? I mean, it's wild. 3 starts in how high everyone is on McLean, but how can you not be? I mean, the guy was at 55 pitches through 6 innings, and he faced the minimum against the Phillies in a huge game. It's one of the best starts I've ever seen from a Mets rookie.
I'm going to ask you to get into your inner Mets fan to answer this question, and this really is my last one. If the World Series is not back on, why is it not back on?
I would say it's still, funny enough, probably the rotation, because I still cannot, even with McLean, Tong, all these guys, I can't imagine the Mets making a deep run if they don't have at least one of Kodai Senga or Sean Manaea. Manaea's looked a little bit better to me, but they have to figure, one of those guys has to step up. I don't think you can really go through the playoffs with all the kids and David Peterson and make a run. So they need one of the veterans to step up, ideally both of them. So I think that's still the thing that can hold them back.
The editor-in-chief is high on life. Ryan Finkelstein, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So in summary, World Series back on for the New York Mets. Thank you to the editor-in-chief, Ryan Finkelstein. It was so there. We needed to have him on today after they swept the Phillies, and they're getting ready for the Fish this weekend. It's a 4-game set, but it's the hottest team in baseball right now, it seems, after being so in the dumps. Like the sky was falling for 2 months.
It's so funny. I mean, that's baseball in general, but just with the Mets, it's just the highs and the lows are just insane.
It's New York, man. I mean, it's the Mets and the Yankees. Again, sky falling. Oh my God, we're amazing. Giancarlo, build the statue right now. It's crazy to watch how hot and cold the New York fan bases are. But you know what? The Mets are hot right now, and the Yankees are pretty hot at the moment too. Couple of injuries before we get to second half turnarounds for a couple of starting pitchers in Major League Baseball. I do want to highlight the flexor strain for Trevor Megill in Milwaukee and the rotator cuff strain for Nathan Eovaldi in Texas. Less postseason implications on Eovaldi's side. For me, I just feel really bad for Nathan Eovaldi because this guy was putting together the best pitching year in Major League Baseball this season. Eovaldi was utterly insane this year. His age 35 season, Eovaldi threw 22 starts, 130 innings at a 1.73 ERA. Hell, he was 11-3, punching out 9 hitters per 9, walking a hitter and a half per 9. 35 years old. This is year 1 of a 3-year, $75 million deal, and this looks like an absolute bargain if he can return from this rotator cuff strain. So his season's over, but round of applause for you, Nathan Eovaldi. What an unbelievable season when he's been on the hill.
I mean, he's been one of the most impressive stories, just consistently coming back from double TJ to just continue to be the pitcher that he is. And you just hope it's just something minor here and he'll be back, full go next year. And maybe they're just erring on the side of caution. I very much am hoping that that's all it is, because he's just such a pleasure to watch pitch. And it just incredible to see what he is doing, despite all the adversity that he has faced. And I think the Rangers sliding out of it probably made it a little bit easier for them to just say, hey, he's done for the year. But you definitely hope he gets back soon, because you start to look at those numbers now over his career. He's put together a really impressive career, even without factoring in the double TJ and stuff that he's had to overcome.
Yeah, a two-time All-Star, World Series champ, Nathan Eovaldi is he's not putting together any career that's going to get him any post-career accolades, but this guy is quickly approaching Hall of Very Good from Hall of Good, which is fun. Now we pivot to Trevor Megill real quick, and I just look at this Brewer bullpen, and it doesn't look as terrifying with Megill hitting the shelf. Trevor Megill is dealing with a flexor strain. He went on the IL on August 25th. That's earlier this week. That just worries me a lot when I look at the Brewers and the long-term outlook, because we've been talking about every starting pitcher just throwing their ass off this year. And then all of a sudden you turn it over to this lights-out bullpen. A lights-out bullpen is buoyed by one of the best closers in baseball, regardless of who we talk about in terms of best bullpens in the game. And Trevor Megill was absolutely that. All-star this year. Where does your fear factor mainly diminish for Milwaukee?
Well, the good news is, I think we've seen some of these very, very mild flexor strains. Guys have actually come back in a few weeks and been able to get back to themselves. And at least from the story that we're getting from Milwaukee and Megill is that it came out as a mild grade 1 flexor strain, in his words, nothing too serious, no ligament damage or anything. So hopefully, he can come back. But for the sake of the conversation, of course, the bullpen's still fantastic, but there's something about Megill too, or it's just that imposing figure in the way that he when he gets in there in the ninth, it just feels like the game's over. But also just the way that they can weaponize that bullpen with him in there and Uribe and all these other guys that they can mix and match and put in different positions. Like it definitely hurts. I still think that the Brewers are a complete force, but I mean, that's your guy in the bullpen. So hopefully he can get back, because that's a big reason why, their strength is their strength.
How much worse do you feel with Abner Uribe holding down the ninth? I know Uribe has really loud stuff, but it seems like he doesn't really have the I've been there, done that Trevor Megill has.
Yeah, I was going to say, sometimes it doesn't matter, right? You see guys in the postseason and they just go out and shove because they got crazy stuff. But Uribe is a very, very passionate, emotional player who, if he hits some adversity, if he blows a save in the playoffs, how does he bounce back? I don't know. Yeah. He's 25. I definitely think there's a lot less. I think the heartbeat's a little bit higher when you have Megill closing the games out in the playoffs when you have Uribe closing games out over Megill. I think that's just the easiest way to put it.
I would be curious to do this dive. I would want to know, like, the average age of the best closer performances in the postseason year over year. Like, I think about Texas in 23. Leclerc was on the other side of 30. Josh Spores was on the other side of 30. Like, it always feels like you rely on guys that have been around the block for a minute. Like, the postseason ace last year was Blake Trinan in LA, right? He was the guy. Luke Weaver is on the other side of 30 as well. Those were the two that jumped out in the postseason. It really doesn't feel like there are too many 24-year-olds that are lighting the world on fire in the postseason, because the lights are very, very bright.
Especially a guy like Uribe. Like, he just maybe he channels it well now, and maybe he's figured out how to do it. But I've watched him in the minor leagues just completely lose it. And he's matured. It's been a few years, and clearly a lot of things have clicked. But he's a very emotional pitcher, and that can be difficult to put all your eggs in that basket in the playoffs. And maybe they go closer by committee. Maybe that's what would be how they go about it. But Megill definitely makes things feel a lot easier, like a lot more calm.
Yeah. We're going to get to second half pitching performances in a moment. But before that, I want to tell you about our friends at Ethos Life Insurance. If you're like me, your favorite pitchers going on the IL with flexor strains and rotator cuff strains have you thinking about what would happen to your family if you were to go down with a flexor strain or a rotator cuff strain, or something a little bit worse. And that's why I'm going to trust my friends at Ethos Life Insurance, okay? Ethos is an online platform that makes getting life insurance fast and easy. To protect your family's future, in minutes, not in months. That's unfortunately what it takes to come back from a rotator cuff strain. There's no complicated process. It's 100% online. There's no medical exam required. Just answer a few health questions. You can get a quote in as little as 10 minutes. You can get same-day coverage without ever leaving your house. Unfortunately, Chris Sale and Madison Bumgarner both got hurt in their house, so I can't promise no injuries in the household. Ethos is a trustworthy company that disrupts the traditional life insurance industry. As of March of 2025, Business Insider named Ethos the #1 no medical exam instant life insurance provider. 3 million families have completed their applications and trusted Ethos to help find the right coverage. Ethos has 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 2,400 reviews. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/justbaseball. That's Ethos, ethos.com/justbaseball. Let's talk second half pitching performances now. It's effectively what you guys did yesterday when it comes to hitter turnaround, right? The delta between OPS post All-Star break and pre All-Star break. That's a bit more cut and dry because you have like huge samples to work with, and pitching, there's really no rhyme or reason as to why a guy may be good after the All-Star break. It does feel like the 4-day, 5-day layoff for hitters could be the mental reset that they need. So this is a bit more abstract, but there are like 4 or 5 names that jump out to us.
Oh, for sure. And yeah, it's a little bit more of just to pick the guys that you've seen and maybe stand out to you. And then those in the YouTube comments can let us know if some arms that have stood out to them that have maybe flipped the script a little bit more in the second half. But yeah, it is a little bit more concrete with hitters, I feel like. But I think an obvious one would be Sandy Alcantara, and guy that you've been able to watch up close and personal and just see what he's doing. In the second half, it's a 3.42 ERA. But, if you start to really hone in on the last 5 starts or so, it's been even better than that. But it's just, if you just watch Sandy throw for the Marlins right now, it's different. It looks like the pre-TJ Sandy. The fastballs jump in. He's commanding the changeup a little bit better now. He's throwing that breaking ball, whether it's the slider or the curveball, which morph, but still are both nasty, with confidence and later sharper break. He just looks like he's getting back to himself.
He definitely does. And a couple of things that jump out there. Number one, it really all stems from the Cy Young pitch. And the Cy Young pitch was his changeup. The changeup was the best pitch in baseball in 2022. Why? That's kind of an abstract question that doesn't really have a clear-cut answer, but it really does seem like it was the equalizer from a 98-mile-an-hour sinker or a 99-mile-an-hour sinker. You've got 99. You're geared up for 99. You're getting 99. And then all of a sudden, this 92-mile-an-hour changeup that moves pretty similarly, albeit with a little bit more arm side fade and a little bit more vertical drop, it was just a ground ball machine. And in terms of run value, it was one of the best pitches in baseball that year. It might have been the best pitch in baseball in 2022. You watched it at the beginning of the year. Like, there were a handful of starts where that changeup was entirely uncompetitive. I remember a start in LA where he was spiking that thing literally every time he threw it, and he had to scrap it from his toolbox entirely. And Sandy has worked to get the changeup back. It's a really hard pitch to get back. It is a feel pitch, and a feel pitch coming off of Tommy John is almost never good. It is slowly but surely returned, and now that changeup is around the strike zone. He's kind of dotting it at points, and then he's also in the general vicinity where he wants to be pretty much every time. I don't have it in front of me. I know the strike rate on the changeup was over 60% in 22. I know that it was right around 60% in 23, and then I know that it got to about 50% at the beginning of this year.
Last 5 starts, it's 71.5%. And you look at what it was through his first 15 starts this year, it was about 55%.
Yeah.
So yeah, hitters were able to eliminate that. And then if he missed up with it, that they'd get to it and they'd hit it. So that changeup makes everything else better too, because now you're worried about him just locating it right at the knees or then a ball or two below that. And then you're looking down, and that's where that 97, 98, 99, sometimes 100-mile-an-hour fastball can surprise you at the top. It doesn't have crazy ride or anything. Most of them register as sinkers, but when it's upper 90s and you have your sights down, it's going to get on you quick and it's going to beat you. And then the confidence is spilled over to the breaking balls as well. And now you're not even thinking about the breaking balls. Whereas before, hitters were like, oh, he's throwing the curveball more now. I'm just going to hunt that. And that's not his best pitch. So it's allowed him to, one, just use his best pitch more and effectively, but it's made all the other offerings better too. And I think that's why you're seeing a guy that looks like he's pretty darn close to back. And, I know when we do this thing where we say this and then they have a bad outing next time out. So I hope that doesn't happen, but I don't know. I feel pretty confident that it won't. You look at the last handful of starts here, even the bad one, against the Astros, he still went 7. He gave up 6, but he went 7 innings. And then since then, it's just been really, really good. So I think it's really positive for the Marlins. And, it's just nice to see Sandy looking like Sandy again.
100%. And, you feel like we've seen 2 to 3 start pockets where he starts to look better, but it never felt as good as it feels right now, to be honest. And I think a lot of it's the change up. The other thing that I want to add before we move off of Sandy is the old adage, there's no better pitch in baseball than a well-located fastball. That's the case with Sandy Alcantara right now. He is lining the perimeter of the strike zone with that sinker, with that four-seamer that you're talking about that doesn't carry a ton, but it gets enough swing and miss because it breaks from the template that his sinker typically lies in. He's using it a little bit more now, like four-seamer up top at 99, and he'll get some swing and miss underneath that because it's a deviating pitch. But at the beginning of the year, if you looked at just the heat map of where the fastball is, I mean, it was center cut, and guys were ready for it. And it's not this whiff pitch. Sinkers are not whiff pitches. Sandy's can be at points, but it's really never been. His Cy Young season, it's not like he was striking out a hitter per inning. So for me, it's like lining the perimeter of the strike zone with the heater and then off the changeup that we were talking about.
100%. And the other guy that kind of stood out to me, to be honest, even though I don't know if it's going to last, so another guy that you just saw yesterday, and Joey Wentz with the Braves. I don't know how to feel about it. I'm very interested to see what it's all going to look like, but he went 6 2/3, a 1-run ball against the Marlins. I know the Marlins have not been swinging it very well, but if you look at the last 9 starts, which goes back to July 12th, which last 9 outings, I think if you really look at when he was transitioned into the starter's role, which is the last 8 appearances.
And that was in Atlanta. That was after he was DFA'd twice by Pittsburgh and Minnesota.
Yeah, correct. So it comes back to Atlanta on the 12th. Since then, 8 starts, 41 2/3 innings, a 3.67 ERA, a 3.35 FIP. He's only striking out 19.5 per 9 and walking 8%. Or sorry, he's only striking out 19.5% of batters and walking 8% of batters.
19 per 9 is sick.
Yeah, that would have been really good. That would have been really, really good. I don't know. You watched it up close and personal yesterday. Is this just a little hot stretch? There's no way that he just got claimed by the Braves and they sprinkled some magic dust on him, but something clicked coming back to them.
They have. It's not like they haven't flunked on the guys that they've brought in over the last couple of months because they've just had to go kind of bottom of the barrel fishing recently. Like Eric Fetty is now a Brewer, which is crazy that Eric Fetty is going to pitch for the Milwaukee Brewers this year. Unbelievable. How do you fall backwards into that? But Fetty was terrible for them. They've had guys that have been sacrificial lambs. Carlos Carrasco was terrible for them. We'll see how Cal Quantrill throws for them. Who's to say it's awesome? Cal Quantrill throws Thursday night at Citizens Bank Park against a sold-out Philadelphia Phillies crowd. Is that going to go well? I have no idea. The fact that Wentz is going well is a huge win for them, along with Hurst and Waldrop, who I know you talked to, and I'm really excited to read the piece that you're going to put together on Hurst and Waldrop. But Wentz, you just watched it up close and personal too on Wednesday. It doesn't feel awesome, but it happens. And it's a heater that gets on you quick. It's a cutter that gets on you quick because he extends really as well as anybody in baseball. He works down the mound. He's a big, long, lanky guy, and he uses that to his advantage. I think it's just weird enough to be good for them. He clearly has bullpen experience. For me, this is one of your 13 arms that's Atlanta rosters going into next year.
Yeah. It's just a classic depth guy that they love to have in AAA, and I think he's earned that. But it's and that sounds like, oh, well, why are you talking about him? He got DFA'd by the Twins, right? So this is a guy that now all of a sudden something may have clicked. He's got some confidence, and I'm really excited to put out that Waldrop piece because he's also a guy that could probably fit in this conversation, even though it's different because he wasn't in the big leagues. But first half not great in AAA, and then Waldrop now succeeding big time in the big leagues. But that was a totally different situation where Waldrop was talking about usually the Braves just try to get guys to hone in on what they're good at again. And because sometimes you can drift away from that. With Waldrop, it was the opposite. It's like, okay, this four seam is just not going to work. So let's start throwing a cutter and a sinker. And that's really what's helped him. So maybe it was just a matter of encouraging Wentz to kind of get back to just what he does well.
I guess. Another guy we got to talk about in the National League. Is Cade Horton going to be the unanimous Rookie of the Year in the National League? It sounds like he's probably trending that way, according to Cubs fans, and they hate Peter. Hate him. Burning passion.
Oh, I know. I touched on it last episode, and he was not happy that he was making a case that everybody that lives in New York and is thinking about leaving should absolutely leave, which is just like, it was like, okay.
He was telling me that. We went to dinner when you guys were here for Just Baseball Day at Lone Depot Park, and he was like, I spent 36 hours in Chicago, and I don't understand why I lived in New York for as long as I did.
You said it to me 3 times too.
Yeah, I'm like, brother, how many times did I have to tell you that when you lived there?
Yeah. I know. It's so good. It's so good. But so I was like, oh, you're just saying this because you want to win the Cubs fans back. And he's like, no. And he definitely was not entertaining that. So that said, I went back. I listened to the conversation you guys had. Definitely was very fair. That it's just really hard for a pitcher to win Rookie of the Year. But there's a year where a pitcher can do it and not have a huge workload. It might be this year because of the way the position player situation set up, and it also just because of the way that Cade Horton's sprinting through the finish line. And this is another player, though, too, where you look at it, like, what has really changed? The only thing I can look at and point towards is command. He's just executing better. The stuff's always been there. We've known that with Cade Horton. The slider's a potential plus pitch. The changeup is back, and that was the big variable. And I think we talked about that a little while ago. But when Cade Horton had his big minor league season, where I wouldn't say breakouts, top 10 pick, but it really solidified himself as one of the best pitching prospects in baseball. He had tried that Vulcan grip on the changeup, and that pitch came out of nowhere and became an asset for him. It was flashing plus. And then it just kind of went to the wayside for him as he was battling injury. Just the feel never came back totally. And I also think different ball. You get to AAA. It's just different. It's back. And I think that wrinkle for him, where now you've got the plus slider, the changeup that looks like you can be a plus pitch off of it, and then the taste-breaking curveball to mix in. And then all of a sudden, I think the cut ride fastball guys, you're not going to get a ton of whiff in the zone, but you can get a lot of weak contact, and he's just executing that cut ride fastball way better. And now you're just seeing this complete Cade Horton arsenal where he just looks like a really solid and consistent pitcher. And that's why you look at the last, 7 outings, he's allowed 2 earned runs, 37 innings, 2 earned runs.
And I think it's a 0.49 ERA across that stretch.
Yep.
So cut ride, I am curious because, Savant has these great, maps, like these zone maps. Cut ride doesn't always necessarily mean that it has to be on the other side of the y-axis of vertical or of horizontal break, right? It doesn't always have to be kind of slider shape. It can just be close to 0. So
yeah,
Cade
exactly.
Horton, when you look at vertical horizontal break for Cade Horton, as I go to this right now, his 4-seamer is about 15 and 0, and 0 is a cut ride fastball.
Yeah. That's crazy because you could be a little bit over because most fastballs are just going to get 7-8 inches of arm side run, or you're just going to get more carried offset. That to be right at 0, that's going to really play that cut feeling that hitters are going to see and that ride up a little bit more. And that was Waldrop's issue, is he has a tendency to cut balls a little bit too because they're just clearly supinators, both these guys. But with Waldrop, he's getting 12 vert and he's getting still 3-4 horizontal. So that's just looking like an arrow, but a little bit more vert and a little bit closer to that y-axis. And it's going to look like it's cutting more and riding more. And that's why it works for Horton. But even then, if you're missing over the middle that action is not going to work great. It's going to go right into the swing plane. So that's why he's locating so much better now, and you're seeing the results.
Overarching pitching philosophy question for you. When do you feel like we see hitters as a whole around Major League Baseball and professional baseball adjust to this? Because it feels like the number of riding fastballs, the number of high carry fastballs and cut ride fastballs that we've seen is like continuously going up to the point where I feel like it's almost half the league I look at right now is throwing these, good high carry four seamers because teams are obsessed with it right now. Obviously, this game works in cycles. Are we 2-3 years away from a change?
I think we're starting to see it already where guys, so I think the cut ride, no one's ever going to fully it's just, there's not a lot of guys that are throwing it that way. And because for a lot of guys, it actually works against them in terms of the pitchers, where I think the cut ride, the reason why a lot of them, like look at Justin Steele, is because it's just weird enough where you just don't hit it right on the part of the bat where you thought you would. But in terms of just the true carry, high carry ride guys, like the Jonah Tongs of the world are just always going to be good because that's going to break brains. But I think guys are getting a lot better at covering the top of the zone. And I do think we're starting to see, you're seeing it this year, where a lot of these like Andrew Abbott type of left-handers are really succeeding. And I've been asking myself why. And I just feel like a lot of it is these hitters are so geared up and preparing. And I mean, like you see the foam balls, the high carry fastballs and covering that you start to see an Andrew Abbott executing east, west and all that. And they're cruising. How many left-handers are that? Because usually left-handers are not going to be as much of the ride guys, right? It's more a little bit more of a right-hander thing. How many left-handers that are like pitchability guys for the most part are having insane years this year?
My God, dude. Matthew Boyd, this came out of absolutely freaking nowhere. Obviously, you've got like Skubal and Crochet that are leading the pack, but yeah, somebody like Andrew Abbott, somebody like Matthew Boyd. I look at somebody like Ranger
Parker
Suarez.
Messick's dominating out of the gate.
Great.
And he's a carry guy, but it's not why he's down. It's 92. The carry helps the changeup play up and things like that, but he's executing the secondaries to have that success. I think
Joey Wentz, well executed 2 pitches from Joey Wentz.
Yeah, I'm telling you. So I think it's always going to be an asset because it creates separation from your other pitches, and the more separation, the better. No matter how much hitters prepare to cover the top, because also you think about it now, hitters start to prepare to cover the top. Okay, maybe your four seamer is not playing as well, but now you're keeping them honest, and everything else is working well off of it. So you're establishing that tunnel. But I already think we're seeing it where hitters are getting better and better and better at covering those pitches. And I do think we're, another year or two away from seeing a new offering kind of become in vogue to curtail that.
Yeah. I think the last guy we want to talk about in terms of second half bump up is Gavin Williams. Through 7 starts, he's got a 2.52 ERA. Among qualified starters since the break, it's 4th in all of baseball in ERA behind Hunter Brown, Paul Skeens, Tarek Skubal, guys who have been good all year long. And then in terms of batting average against, Nick Pivetta, 7 starts at a 2.6. Opponents are hitting 140 against him since the break. Kevin Gausman, opponents are hitting 180. Gavin Williams, opponents are hitting 183. So he's 3rd in baseball among qualified starters in batting average against. We always knew it was here for Gavin Williams, and it was like good before the All-Star break, but he has leveled up since the break, and it's been really fun to watch.
Yeah, he's been kind of just a streaky guy, right? So I'm hoping that it continues here. It's a command thing for him, I think, right? He's a 6'6", 230-pound right-hander. You look at the first 20 starts, he was walking 13% of batters.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was that bad, right? And then you look at the last 7 starts, that's down to 9.5%. And for a guy with his stuff, I think that's all you really need. Just be just below 10%. You're going to be in a good spot. But this is a dude that throws a hard fastball that I think the strike rates were too low on the secondaries and hitters didn't respect him enough. And now they have to. And you see, like when he's locating the secondaries, he was on no hitter watch. But when he's not, all of a sudden he becomes a lot more one-dimensional. So I'm hoping he can keep this thing rolling because, one, the Guardians need him to, but 2, he's just has so much potential when he's throwing enough strikes.
Yeah. Anybody else you want to identify here before we move on?
It was funny. I was looking statistically, and I'm like, oh, Luis Severino has been actually a lot better this second half here. And part of it might just be pitching better at home and just learning how to keep the ball in the yard. But I also just think he's not wasting his games away from Sacramento, where then you're seeing him really throw well away there. But also, again, we talked about it. The samples are kind of skewed because 3 starts can really shift it. And it's been the last 3 starts for Sevy where he's been fantastic, and 2 of them have been on the road. So I think this may be one of the more clear-cut examples of a guy that is just going to have crazy home road splits because he is not very comfortable throwing in Sacramento, and that place is a launch pad. But when he has those stretches that he's on the road, you're going to see those numbers get a lot better. And then he had a good first half too. And you mentioned him briefly, but like Nick Pivetta.
Yeah.
I just want to talk about how good the second half has been, because this Padres team, where are they without Nick Pivetta?
Oh,
you have Darvish, who has been hurt the whole year and, looks like a shell of himself right now. Hopefully he can build back. You've had Dylan Cease just be the most frustrating version of Dylan Cease that we've seen through the years, where it's just good, not good. And the not good has been a little bit more prevalent of late. Michael King's been hurt, and Pivetta's been their guy. He's been so consistent. It's 6 innings. It feels like every single time out, sometimes 7. And yes, he's been good all year, but I'd argue he's been getting better as the season progressed. He had 1 bad outing against the Red Sox, which, like, the Red Sox are teeing off on just about everybody. But in his last 11 starts, a 1.82 ERA, 27% strikeout rate, and a 6% walk rate. If you take out that Red Sox start, it's 10 outings at a 1.28 ERA. He has just been as consistent as anybody.
And again, even factoring in that Red Sox start, opponents are hitting 140 against him since the All-Star break.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy stuff. And I did want to shout out Brady Singer quickly. Brady Singer, they're going to need him. I think if they're going to make this push down the final month of the season, and if the Reds are going to maybe sneak into the playoffs, sounds like it's going to be kind of hard now with just everything we talked about in the beginning of this episode, and actually them getting swept for the first time in like 30 years finally the other day. But Brady Singer, man, we were a little bit concerned, just like, okay, is he gonna be able to keep the ball in the yard in Great American Ballpark? And I think there was an adjustment there. It's also not that much more difficult than throwing in Kauffman, but I think Great American is just about as hard as it is to throw anywhere at the end of the day. He's been darn good. Last 7 starts, a 3.38 ERA, and just really confident against some really good lineups. What's been standing out to me, though, is the strikeout numbers. You go back to the 12th of July, he's striking out 28% of batters.
Wow.
I mean, that's a wrinkle that we've seen him flash it, but we had a 10 strikeout outing against the Braves. He just struck out 9 D-backs last time out, on the 24th on a 1-hit ball. And yeah, he's maybe not getting as many ground balls as he did in the past, but in the first half, he wasn't getting really any ground balls. I was kind of surprised by that. And now he's been getting more. If you look at like the last 10 starts, it's a 44% ground ball rate. The first 16 starts, he had a 35% ground ball rate. It's usually going to be good to get the ball on the ground in Great American Ballpark, but the fact that he's getting ground balls and striking guys out more, something's clicked for Singer, and I think that's a really exciting development for him in the Reds.
100%, man. I did have something pulled up here. You mentioned home road splits for Sevy. I found the most drastic home road splits in baseball. Have you seen what Chase Dollander has done away from Coors Field?
No, I was gonna ask.
He's been entirely lost in the shuffle. He's made 19 starts and he's got an ERA in the mid-6s. He's made 10 starts at Coors Field. He's got a 9.88 ERA at home. He's made 9 starts on the road, and he's got a 3.64 ERA. 41 innings at home, opponents are hitting 341 against him. 47 innings on the road, opponents are hitting 212 against him. This is the next. This is the next core. This is the next Rockies pitcher that pisses me off, and I'm just begging for him to get out.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, imagine if he was somewhere else. Imagine if he was somewhere else. His fastball is so good, but his fastball characteristics are the type of fastball that gets nerfed by Coors as much as any, and you're seeing that, and that sucks because he is a really, really good pitcher. But yeah, I'm looking at the fastball. Oh my gosh, 4-seamer at Coors, Opponents are hitting 408 with a 1286 OPS, 7 homers. Four-seamer away from cores, opponents are hitting 200 with a 728 OPS. Free him. Free him.
That's crazy. Couple more things before we wrap here, just based on reports. We're recording on Thursday at 2 p.m. We don't know who's starting for the Boston Red Sox on Friday, today. It seems like it's one of Kyle Harrison or Payton Tolle. And I just want to give you the 411 on Tolle in case it is him. Tolle mashed at TCU, like power bat at TCU. For the Red Sox this year, 91 and 2/3 innings in the minor leagues. He started with Greenville at high A. He made 10 starts there, and 49 and 2/3 innings. He had a 3.6 ERA. 27 innings, he punched out 37, and opponents hit 144 against him in Double A with Portland. And through 3 starts with Worcester, 15 innings, 17 punch-outs, and 2 walks, and opponents are hitting under 200 against him. I had a great phone call with Scott Kornberg earlier this morning, who does a tremendous job as the voice of the Jacksonville Jumbo.
He shoved against them.
He killed. So I called him real quick, and I was like, tell me about Tolle. And he said he was unbelievable. I think it was leadoff, bloop double, and then runner pushes to third on a ground out, and then runner scores from third on a wild pitch. But after that, set down 15 in a row, and he did it with 50% fastball. And he said everything is just ridiculously hard and firm. And that kind of seems like bully ball power bat at TCU Payton Tolle.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we were talking about on the last episode. I said I'd give Tolle a shot over Harrison in terms of like if you're really, going for the highest ceiling here. And I hope they do, because that fastball will instantly be one of the best left-handed fastballs you got from a starting pitcher in baseball. And I hope they go that way, because we also got the headline that the Giants are not going to call up Bryce Eldridge this year. So unfortunately, I was hoping we get a little bit of excitement with him getting a taste of it, but for whatever reason, they don't want to even do the September call-up thing with him.
I thought that was a little weird. I understand that they are falling out of contention, but is this the whole idea of, Rafi's going to, play first? It's just another Rafi.
Oh, true.
I don't really understand, because you're going to need to figure out a way to get Rafi and Eldridge in the same lineup moving forward anyways. Might as well just kickstart this in September.
Yeah. And then, but also back on the Red Sox point, getting Justin Slayton back.
Oh, huge.
I mean, what he adds to that bullpen with the fact that you're getting like prime Chapman right now, and Slayton also in that he pitched in that series against Jacksonville as well. 3 innings, 3 different appearances, didn't allow a run, 1 hit, struck out 5. He's a really good reliever. So bringing him back into the fold, he's been out since the end of May. That's a huge asset to this Red Sox pitching staff. And just to have him coming out of the bullpen.
One quick thing before we wrap with the weekend preview. I just want to complain for a second about Andrew Heaney getting DFA'd by Pittsburgh. Just for a second. They could have traded him.
Oh, yeah.
They could have traded him 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, but I was talking to some people about that. They could have got something.
They could have gotten a DSL kid hitting, ripping a 720 OPS. It could have been fun. But they opt to put Bubba Chandler in a middle relief role and keep Heaney for one more start, and then they DFA him now. It's one of the silliest things I've seen done this year, to be honest.
Yeah.
It seemed like the Cardinals wanted to trade Fetty before they DFA'd him, and I was like, oh, why wouldn't they trade him? The reality is they could have gone out to market with Fetty, and everybody was like, no, I don't want to give you anything. And then they were like, okay, well, we have to cut ties right now anyway. So I get that. With Heaney, there clearly would have been some sort of market for him at the deadline, even if it's just a lotto ticket and you opt to DFA him instead.
Yeah, and also, like, if they knew that they were going to DFA him ahead of hitting all of his incentives, because he gets $100,000. He gets $100,000 at 130 innings, $150,000 at 140 innings, $150,000 at 160, all the way up each 10-inning increment to 170. So they let him go after he hit the 50K and just shy of hitting the 100K. And if that was the plan anyways, then what are we doing? What's the point? It legitimately couldn't make less sense. And the Pirates are right there with the Rockies for me. It's just no direction, not really a clue what they're doing.
And you think about the pushback that they got after DFAing Rowdy Tellez last year, right before he hit his incentive, and you think, okay, you got to avoid that optics nightmare again. I guarantee you they saw the invoice for $50,000 come through and said, oh, shit, we got to get out now.
Which is one reason why not trade him for legitimately anything? Cash considerations. Who cares?
It's really hard to fathom how they fumbled that with Heaney, but you know what? Here they are in another optics nightmare.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's wrap with a weekend preview real quick. I just want to use this as another excuse to bring up Yuri Perez and Jonah Tong tonight at Citi Field in New York. This is just an unbelievable pitching matchup here. Yuri and Tong, I just want combined strikeouts for the two of them.
I'm gonna go with 17.
17 combined Ks. Who has more? Because that's an odd number.
Tong.
Wow.
Okay. I just think he's going to be just so weird first time out. I think he's going to overwhelm first couple. Maybe the Marlins adjust second time through the lineup and everything, but I think he racks up like 4 Ks first time through the lineup.
Okay. Interesting. All right. So you go Yuri and Tong. Do you go Tong 9, Yuri 8?
Yep.
Okay. Brewers, Blue Jays in Toronto at 7:07. Freddie Peralta, Shane Bieber. What you got?
Ooh, under. A fast game there. I will say, I think the Blue Jays though. I think they can outlast a little bit, and with the way that Bieber's throwing right now, the Brewers have looked a little bit more human of late. So I'll go Jays.
Okay. Brewers, Blue Jays on Saturday, 3:07. Quinn Priester, Kevin Gausman.
I think the Brewers get one back there, but I think that's going to sneaky be a little bit of a slugfest. I think both teams get going offensively.
Okay. Marlins, Mets at 4:10 in Queens. Edward Cabrera against David Peterson.
Woo! That's going to be a fun one too. Man, Edward looked really good last time out. Really good. But how have the Marlins been against lefties of late? Not great. I mean, look at Joey Wentz.
Couple games under 500 this year.
Yeah. I'll go Mets, but I think Edward turns in a decent one.
That's sad. Paul Skeens in Boston. Paul Skeens, Dustin May at 4:10 at Fenway on Saturday.
They're saying they might push May back though, no? Or is that just smoke?
They pushed him to Saturday.
Yeah, it's just gonna be another one of those where Paul Skeens still doesn't get a win somehow. No, I think the Pirates win that one.
Okay. Chris Sale makes his return in Philly. Chris Sale, who's got a 2.52 ERA against Christopher Sanchez at the bank.
Woo-hoo. I think a little rust to shake off there, right? Christopher Sanchez is a machine. I'll go with the home team.
Okay. Saturday at 7:10 on the south side of Chicago. How many punch-outs does Cam Schlittler get against the White Sox? He's been
9.
awesome.
He's been amazing. And you look at the progression too, how much velocity he's gained in the last few years. He's just throwing fuel now. I think 9 punchies.
Okay. Mariners, Guardians in Cleveland at 7:15 on Saturday. Logan Gilbert against Gavin Williams.
Ooh, we're just talking about Gavin. I honestly feel like I have not seen a Gilbert start in a little bit for whatever reason. He struck out 13 last time out.
He did,
but the
yes.
outing before that, he gave up 6 earned. Oh man, I'll go Mariners, but okay. I don't know.
You don't love it.
Don't love it, but let's hope he keeps it rolling after 13 punchies.
Brewers, Blue Jays on Sunday at 1:37. Brandon
series.
Woodruff in Toronto against Max Scherzer.
Oh, what a series!
I know.
Boy, that's gonna be a fun game to watch.
Yeah.
Give me the Jays again. I love the way Scherzer's been throwing the ball. It's been fun to watch him pitch. I mean, last time out was like his worst outing in a while, and it was 6 innings of 4 earned, and really just got burned by a long ball by Matt Wallner. I think Scherzer throws well again.
All right. How about Sunday at 2:10 in Kansas City? Royals trending up, Tigers trending down. Tarek Skubal against Michael Wacha and his 3.4 ERA in Kansas City.
Skubal. I'm just gonna back
Scooble,
Scooble every single time. Heck, it's Derek Scooble, man. Although the Royals have been playing some pretty good baseball.
Okay.
Waka is just a model of consistency. Another guy, sneaky, by the way, a 2.45 ERA over his last 8 starts. But every time Scooble's on the bump, I'm rolling with that guy.
Last one for you. Sunday night baseball in Philly. Braves, Phillies. Hurston Waldrop against Jesus Luzardo.
I got to go Waldrop, man. Check out the piece. It should be out by the time you're listening to this. But the way Waldrop's been throwing, man, he's been one of the best pitchers in baseball over the last month. So I'll go with Waldrop, continuing to keep it rolling.
There's your program. Every link you need is in the episode description. We look forward to talking ball with you on Monday. Thank you, guys.